like I like how I feel like they were dispersed equally for the most part. I have to sit down and watch all of them like one by one, but from what I remember, what I recall, like they all like kind of had a equal part in this, man.
Happened in the 90s.
Which is just crazy when you
Yeah.
think about it. They just had tapes that you could walk in there and just go, "Hey, I want these five, $0." It was great, dude.
Yeah, I'm coming back to this place several times.
I remember when me and my buddy Eric figured that out because he had a house fire or something. So there was like apartments that if you went behind Video Connection down some road, like past Big Boy and stuff, there was an apartment complex and he was living there. So it was cool. We were buddies. He was closer to me, so we got to hang out a bunch. And we went over there one day, and I didn't even know that they had that free, like that those were free. I just assumed like every tape there you had to pay to rent it. And
Right.
we saw that, asked the dude, and I remember our faces when the guy's like, "Oh, there's no limit." You know, like I think it was probably within reason, but we got like 7 just free wrestling tapes, Royal Rumbles, WrestleManias, and have like a just a watch-a-thon of those things. But that first day when I was like, we don't have to pay for this, it was like I saw God. It was amazing, dude.
Yeah. Long live Video Connection. Like I miss that place. You know, I'd ride my bike there before I was able to drive. And
Hell yeah, dude. That was the spot.
for
If
real,
you had
man.
a day off or whatever, like I remember one time, like when we had like snow days,
Yep.
me and a couple of my buddies that were like in that little Charlemont crew that I had, walked in a blizzard situation to Video Connection through that little park that was in Oakmont. I don't know if you
Yep.
ever went through that or not.
I
And it
did.
was so cold. My one buddy Jason just started puking because when he got cold, he puked. It's a terrible reaction to have. But I just remember that like that's how great it was. It was worth almost dying for in a blizzard just to go over there, possibly get a Mortal Kombat 3 that just come out or some other cool game.
For free 99.
Oh, dude, it was so, and also just like we used to do crazy shit. We'd like put our money together and get one of our parents to rent a system that we didn't have, like a PlayStation or something, so we could play like the next generation games. And it was just an experience, dude. It like structured your whole weekend, and that doesn't even exist anymore. Now people just sit down and look at stuff and scroll, and it's annoying as shit. But going there, when you went, you had to pick something. It was hard to just to walk away and like in failure and not like bring anything back. You were forced to pick something, so you'd experiment a little bit, you know.
The smell of the popcorn, the music playing in the background, the trailers from like recently released movies. They would have whole movies played sometimes.
When I worked at because I worked one summer at a Giant Eagle movie rental place that opened up in Perrysburg, like right before we got into college, like that summer right before. And yeah, we just were anything that was PG and below, we got to play. Or
Mm.
if we were like, because we were there when we were like starting the store up, so it wasn't like technically open yet. So in that time, it was anything goes. We were just watching whatever. But yeah, dude, movie rental places, we're never gonna get them again. But what a thing, dude! So fucking awesome. The anticipation of like when a video game came out and you knew it was out, you knew they had it because you called
You had to
and
call, yep.
go in there and like, dude, and if there was something behind that box, one of those plastic things that let you know it was in stock, dude, it was just like, dude, yes, get the cheat codes, dude,
That,
yes.
that 2 or 3 seconds of anticipation, man. And sometimes, depending on the location, man, they would have demos. Like you could play, like at some of the blockbusters, they would have a game that you could play. You know, it'd
Oh
be
yeah.
limited. You know what I mean? You might be able to play like one level or some shit. But
Or it's like an old game like Echo the Dolphin or some shit, you know?
yeah,
Just something though. But I appreciate it.
yeah, the interactions, man. And like the
Hell yeah,
person
dude.
behind the desk, it seems like that person was like a savior of some sort. Like when you go to them, and I don't see it. It's not where like I thought it would be. You like you have to have it behind the desk. Oh, you know what? Somebody just dropped.
Yeah, dude. When that happened, when they'd go above and beyond and be like, you know what, kid? Let me look in the returns real quick. Let me do you a favor. That happened a couple times with me where they were like, dude, somebody just returned it. Let me do this for you. You're like, dude, you're my best friend.
You are the greatest person ever
Yeah.
to live.
I'm gonna be so cool, dude. I got Turok the Dinosaur Hunter straight out the box. Hell yeah.
And today, like, we're gonna talk about the state, and this is our first opportunity talking about it, man. I watched a little bit of it back in the day. It only lasted about 2 seasons, 94 and 95. And I think it was ahead of its time, man. But luckily for all of the performers involved, man, they moved on and had prolific careers.
Yeah, I mean, I know everyone from the state. I just know them mostly from other things. Like basically everyone on this show is on Reno 911.
Exactly.
So if you've seen that, you know who the state is. And I didn't remember it specifically, and I still will say that I didn't watch it. But seeing the title card and like what the little intro is that they do for it, I do remember this being a thing. I just didn't. I wasn't cool enough. I wasn't hip to this, Steve.
It actually lasted for 4 seasons, but for some reason it was only 25 episodes, and I think it's just because the schedule was just jagged. But, of course, Michael Ian Black, he's done so many things, man. He's also an author, and he had like several resurgences, man. I think after all the smoke cleared from the state, he ended up doing that whole I love the 80s, I love the 90s. He was one of those guys that VH1 would tap a lot. Uh Kevin Allison, I found out, is from Cincinnati, Ohio. He was the redhead guy. So shout out to
Oh,
that.
okay. Nice job, Kev.
Yeah, man. Joe Latrulio, he went on to do Brooklyn Nine. Was it Brooklyn Nine or Brooklyn Nine? Uh,
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in Reno 911. He was brought on later on and became one of the cops in the show at a certain point too. But he's in a lot of like Judd Apatow movies too. He's in Superbad. He's
Role
the guy
models.
that he was the guy that backed into Jonah Hill and took him to like the kegger and stuff as a apology.
Michael Showalter, Ken Marino. I want to dip my balls in it.
Yeah, dude. And the one lady that was in Reno 911's hilarious.
Carrie Kenny.
She's so funny.
And dude, I think they equally contributed it, man. Like I can't really pick a favorite. Unlike SNL, unlike, In Living Color, like I like how I feel like they were dispersed equally for the most part. I have to sit down and watch all of them like one by one, but from what I remember, what I recall, like they all like kind of had a equal part in this, man.
Yeah, my favorite is the one that played like in Reno 911. He was like the boss with the mustache and the short shorts and stuff.
Oh,
If you say his name, I'll be able to say yes, that's that guy. But I can't remember his name off the top of my head now.
Thomas Lennon.
Yep, Thomas Lennon. Let me just fact check that real quick. Yes, and he has a hilarious IMDb picture of him with an owl
Of course he
on
does.
his hand. It's fantastic. But yeah, dude, the state. If I had to pick an MTV sketch show, it would be. It's called Human Giant. It's later on. It wasn't in the '90s, but it was much better than this. But this is great. I mean, I love it. Like you said, it kind of has some little hints of and wackiness of like a Mr. Show.
Yeah.
They go for it. They do some like crazy stuff in this. Um, but yeah, I mean, I got no complaints. I'm not gonna shit talk the state. They're fucking dope. And David Wayne, he's hilarious. He's
David
great.
Wayne.
He's a genius.
And I remember Human Giant with Aziz Ansari, Rob Hubel, Paul
Yeah,
Shear with the Gap, and
yeah, it was
they
a good
kind of
show.
they got their influence from Monty Python, it seems.
Human Giant.
Or no, the state. Like as far
Yeah,
as like,
yeah, I would
'cause
say that.
I thought Mr. Show in the state, they were the first ones to like fuse one skit into another, but Monty Python did it decades ago. But I just, that was before my time. And even when I like found out about it, it was like,
I
British
think
humor,
Kids in the Hall did that a little bit too.
Kids in the Hall, they totally did.
Yeah, I mean, all very good shows, and this is right up there with it. Improv is tough, and doing I think these kind of sketch shows, it's iffy because no matter what, you're basically going up against SNL. No matter what you do, they're going to compare you to that. And this, like you said, everyone's good, and the proof is in the pudding because everyone that's in this show is probably still a working, like, hilarious actor that's been in a bunch of stuff that you've seen.
For sure, man.
You
And
know,
not to mention the voice acting.
yeah, for sure. But all of them very successful. MTV had a hit, but fumbled the balls, Steve, because like you said, only 4 seasons, and like it was only spread out over like a year. I think they
Yeah,
just made a bunch and just like decided to like slow roll it to get the most out of their money. But I just, for whatever reason, it didn't catch on with me, and I think it probably was because at the time I was just a big SNL, just like just
yeah.
purist, I guess you would say. That was my jam, and anything like it, I was like, nah, it's not as good, you
It's a
know.
machine. It was like, why should I watch ECW in '93? I'm a Vince guy. I'm used to these established characters.
I'm not jaded by how good this is yet to go back to ECW and just check it out. And sometimes you miss out on a gem like ECW. In this case, I feel like it's the people involved. I would expect a little bit more out of it just because it's an all-star cast.
Yeah.
But, I think this was like everyone's like first go at actually having a TV show, and I'm watching it now. I was laughing. They
Yeah,
had me
man.
laughing a little bit.
And I think critics have lightened up on it over the years because when it initially aired, they said that it wasn't funny, it's absurd, and I don't think society got it. I just don't think people got it at the time. But over the years, like I think this stuff still stands the test of time.
Yeah, it's not unwatchable by any means. Like there's nothing that is lost in the sauce because this is however old it is. But it's just one of those things. I try to think back. This is right up my alley. I love stuff like this, but for whatever reason, it didn't catch my eye. You know,
It's okay.
I apologize, guys. Michael Showalter and friends, my bad. You guys rock.
They're forgiving. Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your MC Ren and your Ren and Stimpy and look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's the funk Dr. Spock smoking Buddha on the train. How high? So how did I could kiss the sky? How sick? So sick that you can suck my god.
Nice censor. Suck, mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to learn these algorithms and things, got a lot to learn. But
I
today,
dropped a big F bomb at the beginning, so my apologies, Steve. It just happened, but
yeah, fuck and yuck. I don't know. They're petty, depending on what day you catch Google. But today, my friend, we're talking all things August 15th in the 90s. Starting off in 1990, Mark McGuire is the first to hit 30 home runs in each of his first 4 full seasons. The Big Mac.
Maguire. I mean, does this kind of prove that before the gigantic roidage that he underwent, that he was still hitting dingers, Steve?
And that's why he should be in there. Same
Yeah.
thing. Same thing with Barry Bonds. Same thing with Clemens. Even though he's an a-hole, like
I don't
they were.
know. I feel like that's a judgment call, guys. Anybody that's listening that's in the higher ups at any professional league, um, especially baseball, because it's boring to watch, throw these guys some roids, give them a bucket, let them get juiced up, and let it be like monitor it so it's healthy. But the more they take, look, the proof is in the pudding. Sammy Sosa, McGuire, Bonds. I mean, how excited were you to tune into baseball at that time, Steve?
All those guys should be in the Hall of Fame,
Hell
man.
yeah.
And
But
just
back in then, Steve, go back before that. He's
back
in
then,
Oakland A. He's hitting dingers, 30 in each of his first 3 seasons, you said?
first four.
Gee, this guy's a fucking legend. Excuse me, Google. Excuse the language.
30 or 49 in his first full season, his rookie year, 32 and 88, 33 and 89, and 39 in 1990, man. Of all the guys that came before him, pause, and all the one like that his contemporaries who played along with him, like they can't even say that.
You remember when him and Katseiko were just killing it, the Bash Brothers,
Bash
dude?
Bros, man.
Mm, mm.
But you know somebody who probably didn't know about any of that in 1990 on August 15, Matthew?
Hill.
Probably American actress Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, born in Indian Hills, Kentucky.
Okay. Jenny Lawrence. See, I'm not good with the names, Steve. Is this the one that was in Wolf of Wall Street?
This is the one that was in Wolf of Wall Street. This is the one that was in The Hunger Games, The Devil You Know, X-Men Apocalypse. No, this isn't the one that was in Wolf on Wall Street. Um,
Okay.
but she was in Dark Phoenix. She's just very fine. I've always been a huge supporter of hers. Winter's Bone,
Is
X-Men
that
First Class.
is that just something that happened to you when you were watching her movies, Steve? Or there's a movie called Winter's Bone?
Oh, do shh, man. She, I
Jenny
got nothing.
Lawrence, dude. I got nothing. I wish I knew who you were talking about. I think I can picture her. And shout out to Jennifer Lawrence because I'm sure you're beautiful.
She's
If Steve
fine.
likes you,
I'm surprised you don't know who she is. She's big fine.
I'm a married man, Steve. Like, there's no one as beautiful.
Okay. All right.
She might listen to this, Steve. And truthfully, I don't know who it is because what I think who I'm thinking of is the chick who played Harley Quinn, and that's not who this is.
Oh, she's fine too, man. But
Yeah.
she was in American Hustle the same year as
Okay.
Wolf of Wall Street. But 1992, though, the Larry Sanders Show debuts on HBO. They're airing "What Have You Done for Me Lately," or titled "The Garden Weasel." Network execs forced Larry to do a live commercial on the show for one of his sponsors. Hilarity ensues.
Great premiere episode. I get.
Garden Weasel.
Can I tell you something hilarious, Steve? I was given some gardening tools by my father when he moved. I own a legit garden weasel. I had the tool and I was like, I have that thing. And then I went and looked in the backyard. It's a garden weasel. I swear to God, it's a garden weasel.
I didn't know it was a real company. I thought
It's
this
a
was
real company, and it's still in existence, Steve. At least whenever the tool that my dad had, whenever he got that. But I have a garden weasel, Steve. So we can get into it when we get to it. But it's
is
a
it
real
easy?
thing.
Is it easy to glide your weasel?
My weasel is just gliding effortlessly right now, Steve. It's insane. These weeds whacked.
Hey, is that Jimmy Hoffa down there? But they start this off with Larry's monologue, one of his many monologues, and he asks, "Did you see the Bill Clinton play the sax on Arsenio?" Well, we didn't get Bill Clinton, but we got Jerry Brown. He didn't play sax with the band, but he did score him coke.
Salty. Everyone's talking about Bill, but him and Jerry were just doing some yayo. But if you didn't, he also gives a dig at Sonny Bono running for Senate too. Very timely.
That's how you know you're in California. I was looking for Captain from Captain and Tennille.
I mean, if you didn't know any better, you'd think you were watching a late night talk show, Steve. But then it ends, and we see behind the curtain, and we guess our first glimpse of Arthur, who I guess is the manager of like, what is Arthur again?
Arthur is like his producer.
I think that's what. I think you're right, and it's Rip Torn. He's a badass. He's a legend. And Arthur, and we see in this episode through and through, is a Larry Sanders man, Steve. He won't take shit. Larry Sanders is his guy. You're not gonna fuck with him.
and I think Penny is her real name, but she's like, "Great show tonight." It's like, "Well, which part did you see?" The monologue. Well, I always do a monologue. Well, the monologue was great.
She's had that one in the can for a while, you know? That's the only question she can answer. The monologue. The monologue.
Yeah,
Hot though. Penny,
yeah,
gorgeous.
Penny's super hot.
And in this little talk they're having after the show, Arthur's like, "Look, I got to go over to this network meeting. Why don't you come along?" And Larry does not want to do this, but eventually he agrees to go to meet. I think it's the new network.
She's the vice president of programming, Melanie Parrish.
Melanie Parrish. She's the new boss, Steve. So Larry agrees. It's like, he didn't want to. He shows up and he starts riffing, Steve. He gets in there with all these suits and he's still, he's just trying to alleviate some of the tension.
She lets him know we're getting our tits slapped. Lost viewers equals lost advertisers equals lost revenue. So we need to get this straight or else.
And what she's like, look, what we've had all these meetings with the advertisers, and here's the thing. This is what they want. Live ad reads. And Larry's like, you don't think that the hand job's working?
Yeah.
Which I love. And he's like, you know what? I get where you're going here, but I just don't think it goes with the style that I've cultivated for my show. I just don't see where me stopping everything to do an ad read is going to do anything other than just turn viewers off. I mean, he kind of lays it out pretty well, to be honest, but Melanie Parrish isn't hearing it, Steve.
Yeah, and Arthur, he does damage control. And he's like, hold on. It's not that we have a problem with the live sponsor concept. We just need to find the right man for the job. What about Hank Kingsley? And one of the other suits interjects, and he's like, you know what? The thing with Hank is the saturation level is too high. We're spreading him thin. He just did that Green Giant spot not too long ago.
Cue that Leonardo DiCaprio meme for Larry Sanders, where he's like, "Wait, he's the Green Giant guy." Nobody knew because I guess it's all you don't see his face; it's just his legs, I think.
Yeah, and some green tights.
Yeah, but Melanie basically is like, "Look, I'm just gonna level with you. You're gonna do the ads, so do it, and or else, basically." And
Yeah.
so Larry has to eat that one. He tried his best. He pleaded his case, but the suits want a live ad read.
And they ask who is the sponsor, and they say Garden Weasel. And I think Larry says, "Well, that's no way to reference Miss Parrish."
He just keeps trying to shit talk everybody, which is hilarious. He's great at it. He's smarmy. And then we get out of that. We cut to Larry's house, and he's with his, I think, girlfriend. I
It's his
guess
wife at the
it's
time.
his
They're still
okay.
together. Yeah.
It's his wife, and he's just like talking about this thing, and she's like, "I don't really see that it's a big deal. Like they want you to do this. What's the big deal?" And he's like, "Here's the big deal. I'm going to show you this commercial I did in 1979. I can't do ad reads." And he turns out, he puts a tape in or something, and on comes this commercial. It's like a airline commercial. And then he shows up at the end as just like a male flight attendant with some gigantic lamb chops, Steve. I mean, he looks like Wolverine if he was a stewardess.
It's super cheesy and super 70s as hell, man. And while that's going on, Larry's dog is just going all over the place. And it's yapping, it's barking, it's jumping on his lap, and all this. And eventually, yeah, they would have to get a dog sitter for that. But back at the office, they find out Miss Parrish called 4 times. And he said, "Tell her I'll do the spots with great delight."
Great delight. Hank just kind of levels with Harry, and he tells them, he's like, gets this weird situation happen where he has his assistant act like he like ushers him into the room basically, and Larry's kind of over it at this point anyway. But Hank comes in and he's like, "Look, Larry, I want to talk to you about something. Just a little myth that I wasn't asked to do the ad read." because not only am I a Garden Weasel fan, I'm a client. He's like me, Steve. He's got one. He knows the
Yeah.
product. He knows the company. They're
I-
great people, Steve.
you and Hank would be perfect for it, man.
I
Like
know, dude.
you have good relationship with the Garden Weasel. You know the Garden Weasel people. They're good people.
But Larry's like, look, man, they told I spoke up. I tried, dude, but they said it's oversaturated. And Hank's like, this green giant thing's biting me in the ass. Throw some green tights at me, and I'm just turned into a hooker. And he's regretting it because he's oversaturated.
Yeah, such a
He's
horror.
like The Rock right now. He's like The Rock and Kevin Hart. I'm done with it. I'm done. Okay.
And for a brief second, we see Robert Hayes. I think this is our only celebrity cameo. Robert Hayes from Airplane fame and other things. And he's talking to Janine Garofalo, another star. I think she's a star at this point, 92, or a future star, probably star in the making,
Up and coming.
up and coming.
Yeah. And he had a fall, Steve. He's supposed to be a guest, but he actually had a fall. And I think he's like acting, like trying to act like he's like a little like, oh, like my head or whatever to fuck with Janine Garofalo. Because it's Rob, what's his name again?
Robert Hayes.
Robert Hayes. I mean, the guy was in Airplane, so he's got a couple jokes up his sleeve,
And then we cut to Larry and Art, and they see Melanie Parrish behind them. And he was like, "Don't look back! Don't look back!" I swear,
Larry, I've been trying to call you. Yeah. What does Arthur say?
I swear I killed her in the war. Didn't you say that yesterday? It's the truth.
But yeah, Melanie's on their ass. And she's trying to remind them how important this whole live ad read thing is, Steve.
And he tells her, "I'll take a shot at it."
I'm not the Garden Weasel type, but I guess. So they get in it. The rapport with Larry and Robert, it's fantastic. But then huge halt, Screech, he has to just stop the interview. He's like, oh, because I think they actually like play him in. They're like, come on. And like music starts playing. So he gets into it. They've built like this whole Garden Weasel setup thing that's just almost like very Tool Time-ish that they just roll out. It's got a bunch of Garden Weasels. It's got some plants and stuff. And, Larry's doing his best, Steve. And then he almost pulls it off for a little bit.
He's having fun with it.
Yeah.
It's like, if we're gonna do this on my show, like it's got to be on my terms. So he takes one of the Garden Weasels, and he was like, "I want to welcome you to the world of the Garden Weasel. You glide the weasel. Look, Ma, I'm making valuable mulch."
Oh, hello, Mr. Hoffa. He damn near kills somebody by trying to rip one of the things off. And then he's like, weasel? Isn't a weasel a rodent?
Yeah.
Would you call this a rat? What is it, garden rat or something like that?
Rat stick.
Yeah.
Miss Parrish is fuming. She says, "We need to talk. That was not an acceptable spot." And I'm sure they didn't appreciate the mention of a dead Teamster in their spot. It was a great spot. It was funny.
It's not my fault. He's just like, I think they would love what I just did. It came out of my mouth. I'm Larry Sanders. Melanie's not having it though, Steve. They got this whole thing. It's a very tense relationship they got.
She tells him to fix it or else. And then when she walks away, Larry's like, "You want to know something frightening? I'm really turned on right now."
Yeah. So then we cut back to Larry's house, and this is where the dog situation's going on. And we find out Larry has like a trainer, and the trainer's actually Mimi from Drew Carey, which I love. But she's very much not Mimi. She looks like a normal person at this point.
For her standards.
Yeah. And she's like, they're trying to get this unruly dog taken care of. It's jumping all over the place. It's barking. And she's asking him questions. And he's like, well, actually, we had this guy come onto the show as a trainer, fell in love with the dog. He was retiring or something. He gave me the dog. And the person who gave it, I don't know the name. I didn't clock that.
It's Bob something.
Bob something,
Yeah.
and he's a world famous dog trainer. So Mimi, the whoever she is in the show, is like, oh, this is a dog trained by that guy. Well, then I'm not doing anything. I'm not touching it. This dog's perfectly behaved. There's no way it's unruly. And he's like, well, and it's jumping up and down and stuff. Well, she gets up to leave and she politely refuses. And it's so well trained that, I mean, Larry just obviously just doesn't know what to do. But she's like, whatever, go open the door. And you hear the dog open the door for her. So clearly, he's got like some sort of super dog, Steve.
Yeah. That dog was trained by like the Caesar Milan of its time.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
but it's a nice dog, Steve. It's one of the perks of having the Larry Sanders show.
I can't see her in anything else but Mimi. She's one of those people, unfortunately, that just can't outgrow that role. It's like Alfonso Ribeiro. Sorry, bro, you're Carlton.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good and bad thing. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because huge pop from Drew Carey. But I can't even see her without the makeup. Like, I was like, who is that? And then I was like, oh, put a couple, maybe 50 more pounds on her and a shotgun of makeup. Hell yeah. On the hooker setting.
Yeah. We don't even know her name on this show. You're Mimi on Larry Sanders show right now. But
so sorry, ma'am, whoever you are.
They do the promo again on Larry Sanders show, and he just stops mid promo, and that's when he's like, "Weasel, why not just call it the Amazing Rat Stick?"
Oh, okay,
and
that's what had happened. Okay, my bad.
And then they cut back to Melanie Parrish, and she's like, "Do you want me to cut your budget?" So he was like, "Whoa, hold up, time out. Let's have a talk in my office. Don't you ever like talk to me like that in front of my people? This is my show at the end of the day." And she was like, "How many times have you been married? Well, how many times have you slept with Sheldon?" Then that's when she just decks the fuck out of dude.
Bam! I mean, we cut. We don't even really see the punch. We see a flash of light just like Larry, and then cut to him just with a shiner, Steve. He looks like Smalls when he got hit with that baseball in the eye. He's put a stake on it. But he's got a makeup crew because he's got a show to do. So they're actually covering that thing up. And I think, is it Arthur that comes in? Is like, who the hell did that to you? Or is it Hank?
Oh, Hank, because he needs Hank's advice. He's a guru when it comes to these advertisements at this point. And he's like, what do you think of when you're selling a spot or selling a product that you don't really care about? And he's like, think about America. And
fuck yeah. Yeah, dude. Hank's he's an all-American guy. So when he's out there just selling his ass for a garden weasel or some green beans, he's just thinking about the red, white, and blues, dude.
Fuck yeah. And so they give it another retry, man. And he brings up Hank for his assistance this time. He's like, "Hey, Hank, you use this, don't you? Hey now." And
can I get a hey now?
Yeah, he's got it. He's getting the call and response from the crowd. He's getting them behind it now. Like, Hank knows what he's doing. He's a vet in these streets.
He's an ad man, Steve. He's been pitching green beans for years. He's like, hey, he throws 2 hey nows at him. He's like, does everybody love a garden weasel? Let me get a hey now. And they give it to him. He's like, but let me get a hey now. You're right, dude. He's a pro. He gets it. He's also, and I think it's a very cool way to open the show, does the audience warm up because you hear it when the show starts. He's like, all right, we're getting ready to go here. It's going to tell you to laugh and clap, and that's what you're going to do. So this he's really running the show, Steve.
Applesauce. I mean, applause.
But what an ad read. Everybody's happy. Even what's her face needs to shut the hell up.
Because Sheldon, her sugar daddy, loves it. He's the big dog of the parent company, and if Sheldon loves it, of course his side bay is gonna like it. And the Garden Weasel people want you and Hank to do more of these. And Larry's just like, man, I don't know, I can't do these. I'm not comfortable, and you could see I'm horrible at these things. And when Melanie's about to talk, Art just finally steps up and he's like, look, young lady, I don't think anyone wants to hear from you. Now, I killed a man like you in Korea. R.I.P. Rip Torn. You are one of the goats, bro.
Dude, he's just so funny in this.
Oh,
And everyone leaves. Larry gets his way because ultimately he's right, Steve. He's the host. It's his show.
yeah.
I don't want to do it. And that's that. So they leave. But and this I think is probably like a through line through the show. Larry gets his way, but like right at the end he fucks it up because like the guy comes in, says Sheldon comes back and is like, he's like, man, maybe we'll figure it out or something. Like so he even offers to do more or something at the end of the show, but you know, you got to respect the genius of Larry Sanders. He right from the get go was like, I'm not really into it. He didn't hesitate to say that, so I got to respect that.
And R.I.P. to Gary Shandling once again, man. Like
That's crazy.
I like I appreciated his humor as a kid from the Gary Shandling show back in the day. Like Rip Torn is somebody I didn't catch on until like I want to say until he passed, man. Like I knew he was in like Men in Black and he was in Freddie Got Fingered,
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. He was in a lot of stuff. It was like, man, this dude is a comedic genius.
He's down. That's what I like. He's actually could be like a regular like dramatic actor, but he likes to be ridiculous too. You know.
Yeah. He plays the part well, man. But also in 1992, Nickelodeon begins a Saturday night programming block called Snick. And the first couple of entries were Are You Afraid of the Dark and Roundhouse. Now, Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was basically a group of teens that would sit around a campfire and tell these spooky stories.
The Midnight Society, Steve. They got a name.
They is that what it was? Oh, okay, you're
Yeah.
more familiar. So
Yeah.
I should ask, man. All right, if you had to pick, Are You Afraid of the Dark or Goosebumps?
Oh, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Without a
Re-
doubt, for
really?
sure.
Why?
I think it's just the now Goosebumps. The books have a huge place in my heart. The show I came after Are You Afraid of the Dark? So I think it's one came before the other a little bit. But
Yeah.
Are You Afraid of the Dark? There's some episodes that are just really good. It scared me a little bit as a kid, even though it was ridiculous. Like there's an episode where a kid like is in like this weird like abandoned mall. Like
Okay.
I think he gets lost in a mall or something at night, but then you realize like he's in a pinball game and stuff. It's very Twilight Zoney, which basically was what it was. It was just kids telling like these little fireside stories. But I loved it, dude. And I loved how every time that they got into a story at the beginning, the person telling the story would throw a little magic dust into the fire and it would like explode. It was really cool.
Yeah, and on IMDb, they actually have the ingredients for whatever that was that they threw in there. I
Oh,
just
wow.
I forgot to
Okay.
like, yeah, I think
Hell yeah. I've
I
got to
don't
get
know.
on that. It's probably something easy, but it was just like very theatrical and cool because they had like this little like leather baggie of stuff that they would give to whoever was telling the story. And, every episode somebody else would like, be the one telling it. But I thought it was great, especially for kids. Like they went, I think, as far as you probably could with like a kid show on
Yeah,
Nickelodeon. But yeah, dude, I always tuned into that on a Saturday night. Snick was that thing, Steve.
the big orange couch, man, and like I think they did a reboot, didn't they? Like a couple of years ago, it was so popular that they brought
Yeah,
it back.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely a thing for sure, and I think for a lot of people, it was like one of their favorite shows from Nickelodeon. It definitely was for a while one of mine too, and it was different. It wasn't a funny show. It was serious as you could be. So I think for a lot of kids, especially kids that probably were into horror movies, that was like one of their first like intros into something until like before you got to the good stuff, you know.
Get your feet on in the shallow end kind of deal
Yeah,
before
you don't
before
want to
you.
see. Yeah, you don't want to like just jump in to see The Exorcist or something, which I did, and it was terrifying. But yeah, dude, I loved it.
10 seasons, 104 episodes, but Roundhouse, on the other hand, only lasted 52 episodes, and I watched a couple on YouTube. Pretty corny. I'm not gonna lie, pretty corny. It's no all that. It's not even a bag of chips. Like a lot of the jokes were pretty lame. It's more of an improv, and improv is not easy. These were younger people. These weren't like people that came from the groundlings or anything. So, you're trying to attempt something that's improv, and I think it's the first of its kind on Nickelodeon. Like, I don't think they had like sketch or anything like that prior. You could say you can't do that on television, but that was different.
I mean, and it also had like musical acts and stuff too, right?
I
Like it was
believe
it
so.
wasn't all sketch. I think there was like singing stuff on it, like live performance, and I think they even had like a house band or something too.
They did. It walked so all that could run. And something that's relevant to you, man, one of the first guys in the original cast, man, Dominic Lucero, after the first season, he was diagnosed with lymphoma and he
Oh
left the show.
shit.
Yeah, he left the show for treatment and returned for several episodes in the third season. And he wanted to keep that under the rug, man. He didn't want to put that out there. He would eventually pass July 1st, 1994. And in the opening and closing credits throughout the four seasons, they dedicated in his memory. So yeah, Dominic
Damn.
Lucero. Yeah,
Hell
man.
yeah, dude. That stinks. I mean, he passed, but wow, that's wild. Shout out
Yeah.
to Dominic Lucero. Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. man. And that following year, 1993, Nolan Ryan has his 324th and final victory against my Cleveland Indians. Rangers 4, Indians 1.
I mean, I feel like for our generation, this was like he was still like old for us, but this is one of the greats, dude. I mean, obviously we had more after him, but this was like one of those first like great pitchers that I remember knowing his name and stuff as a baseball fan. Getting that
Baseball player.
card, those
Yeah.
baseball cards when you were like, dude, I got a Nolan Ryan, dude. That's
You
a
knew it meant
name.
something. Even before you watch sports like fully, were like fully invested, you knew like if you had a Nolan Ryan, like your money.
Yeah. And he looked like a guy, somebody's dad. He looked like he was just somebody, some like character from King of the Hill that was like brought to life, basically. And I always love to shout out this because he was a great player. I'm sure he was a hell of a human being, but he was part of one of the goofiest looking fights on a Major League Baseball mound where he really old man to guy. I forget who it was. Was it Rafael Palmeiro?
Oh fuck no! There's no.
No.
I don't
Okay.
think he's fucking with him. But Robin Ventura. It was against the Chicago White
That's what
Sox.
it was.
And
Okay.
just last Sunday was the anniversary of that fight, man. And future Hall of Famer, the catcher Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge. He had to break
Pudge.
it up. Yeah, he had to break it up. He was the like Pudge, man. He's been the catcher of a lot of like great pitchers, man.
That's
But
crazy how long, like the longevity, because I feel like he was like going into the 2000s.
2010s, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy. And especially as a catcher, he must have did a lot of heavy knee work just to keep them knees limber.
I honestly think that's the hardest position in all of sports because of what you just said, man. I do that for 2 minutes and my 40-year-old joints can't take it. To do that for a
Yeah.
timeless sport,
I mean, even as a kid, dude, they try because I was fat. So, like, obviously, that's a great catcher body type because you got a big target, But I just could never, I could get down there, but to like balance that so you can like be able to catch a ball and shit, yeah, dude, it's shitty. And like, even as an adult, I'm in good shape now. But if you ask me to do that for a couple of minutes, I'd be like, guys, I'm good.
yeah,
I
them
might have to
joints,
do
man.
the one leg one where I'm just like on a half, I'm like doing it halfway shit.
The other one's doing the split or some shit. But like about that fight though, Robin Ventura was 20 years younger than Nolan Ryan. That's like me or you beating up a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old.
Come on, young blood. Because he, yeah, dude, and he almost like, he like judoed him a little bit. He like put him off balance and like sidestepped him. It was great, dude.
And what's more gangster about that fight? Nolan Ryan finished the game. He struck out everybody after that. It wasn't a no hitter, but everybody after he stayed in the game. Robin Ventura, he got ejected because he charged the mound. Nolan
What was
Ryan,
the reason he charged? Was it just like he threw it like some smoke at him, like got a little too close, or
probably a close call. I have to watch it again. I've seen
yeah?
it several times, man, but I think that was the case. But he fucked around and found out that day.
There's a certain generation of men that you just like you can't overstep, Steve. And Robin Ventura found out.
Yeah. And that following year on MTV, the Brothers Grunt debuts. And what a hop of shit. An interstellar creature grows a group of boils on its back that come to be the Grunt Brothers. 42 episodes.
I'd rather give me head. Fuck this.
Yeah, we actually
Not
covered.
give me head. I mean, don't say, exactly. You know what I'm talking about, Steve.
Yeah,
That cartoon was way better. This, I don't remember this. I didn't have MTV, I don't think. When did this come out?
this was 94.
So yeah, I did have it, but man, the Brothers Grunt, hell no, never watched it.
Horrible.
Sorry.
They tried to like recreate that Beavis and Butthead approach where they would play music videos, but instead of having commentary from the characters, they would just have the brothers like superimposed in front of the music video. They would be like grunting and like making just random noises. I don't even think they talked. It was
Okay.
yeah,
They were just taking swings, Steve. They can't
yeah.
all be winners, you know?
Definitely wasn't. And that following year, 1995, the state is airing season 4, episode 4, episode 4. And we start off with a skit called The Hitchhiker, very brief, where a guy's hitchhiking and somebody drives by and the passenger pulls down the window and pulls off his thumb.
Oh! Very slapsticky, but I liked it. That
Yeah.
got a laugh from me, Steve,
Yeah, same.
you know? But then we go into terrorist situation. And in this, basically, it's cops and terrorists, Steve. There's a standoff. Terrorists, mostly, it's most of the cast of Reno 911. I don't know all their names, but they've got some demands. Michael Showalter, or I'm sorry, Michael Ian Black, he's the hostage negotiator. And Thomas Lennon's like the head terrorist, I guess. And they want some money, Steve.
Yeah. They'll be released after we receive $150.
And they all see that's one part of it, but then there's like 7 of these like terrorists, and they all need a certain denomination of this money. Some of them need a couple of singles, couple of 20s, maybe a 50, couple of quarters too, because somebody has to take the bus you
I,
know
I I love the little non sequitur where they call to the mayor for some kind of approval, and it's just Joe Latrulio just dipped in gold.
What
Like,
do you think I'm made of gold?
just cause.
So the mayor's not giving them the money, Steve. So the cops, they decide to just pull their money because 184, whatever they're asking, it ain't that much.
Yeah.
So they pull it together. Michael Ian Black calls them, and he's like, "Look, we got we have it all, but can we write you a check for the rest?" And Thomas Leonard's like, "No deal. We're about to kill these motherfuckers." And then he's like, "Whoa! Somebody looked into their couch cushions. We got it."
Yeah, we got it. Now, all you have to do now is just come out with your hands behind your head. It's like, okay.
And
So
they do
give
that.
they give them the money, and they also arrest them. And Thomas Lennon's like, well, you figured out my plan. Yeah, but until next time. But like, he can't be arrested because now the van is full.
4D chess. So he's like, "I'll see you next time, Kappa," and that's it. He really is a terrorist genius because he knew, Steve. He knew the capacity. And what are
Next
they going to
time,
do? Call another vehicle? Hell no. They can't
I'll,
waste the resources.
I'll be back with a bigger van. And then they cut to the Leonard Harris show, and his guest is Ross Kaplan, who's blind. They're just basically being a dick to him.
So wait, you're telling me you can't see? Like, how many fingers am I holding up? What? I can't see anything. Oh, so you're telling me you're not only blind, but you're so dumb that you can't count how many fingers I'm holding up? He's like, wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Uh, I'm blind, not deaf. I think his wife comes into question and he like mentions he has 2 children. Like, well, they must be adopted. Like, you can't make love to a woman. Well,
It's very Jerry Springer too, because Michael Ian Black comes up and he's like, "Let me get the mic, let me get the mic," and he's like, "I don't know about all y'all, but if I was blind, I might try to learn how to see better." And everyone's like,
Oh,
"Yeah!" That was great. I love that.
don't you ever worry about AIDS?
What? uh,
Maybe
so
you
that's
should get a
great.
job. Stop living off the public domain.
I actually have a wife and 3 kids. Okay, what are you guys talking about? So it's basically Jerry Springer if they just like made fun of handicapped people, I guess. And that's the Leonard Harris show, and I love that. I wish they made more of those.
And then they go to the permanent school record.
Oh God,
This
that
is
made me laugh too hard.
this is a prestigious law firm. We don't promote fights or fist fights. Oh, that's great. That's good to hear. Me neither. Well, according to your grade school teacher, she said that you used to get in a fight.
That was a long time ago, was it? Yeah, Michael Ian Black's like the boss interviewing him, but he basically turns into like a petulant little kid. You know, he's going over the records, but then he's like, "Oh, you're a little dumb face."
Yeah. Crazy fist fighting psychopath. I was 8 years old. Oh, really, Mr.
Don't
Marcus?
touch me. You
You're
know what?
overreacting.
Maybe I did overreact a little bit. You got the job. Arrest this man. This
And
was
then-
kind of like really. I don't know if you ever saw like Louis C.K.'s comedy like early on in his career when it was like weird. It was like very like off. It wasn't normal shit, and that's kind of what I like about this. It's just sort of misdirection comedy a little bit, where you're like, where is this gonna go? You know, but it's I the more we start talking about it together, I'm really enjoying this.
it's like an endless stream of confusion, but hilarious nonetheless, man. In a free market economy, freedom for money. I was a violinist in the orchestra. Now I sell ice cream from truck.
I was nuclear physicist. Now I help my brother with ice cream truck. I fill the chip witches, but there are no chip witches. So I just read Polish comic books.
Before free market economy, we eat one potato, but now we eat two potatoes.
Free market economy. It's just a bunch of poor Russians, Steve. And Thomas Lennon with like the blonde wig as the host looks hilarious too.
We are planning for one day Helsinki vacation. Once I walked on the moon. Now I sell these magic mice.
Look at it crawl. Look at it crawl. I bought it in free market store.
And then the one guy, he's like, I can buy American style shoes, Adidams. They have 4 stripes.
All that money plus an extra stripe. And then we cut to the beach skit, Steve, which is hilarious. Where at first we see what's this like sketch called Drag Dad, which is just a sketch where the kids are like, "Yeah, Dad, well maybe you're in drag," like just something like that. But then it cuts, and David, I think it's David Wayne who's like saying this, or I forget who's introducing this, but he's like, "The skit you just saw cost us $4,000." Now, we scrapped it because it was awful.
Yeah.
So what you're about to see is another skit we spent $4,000 of that's basically just us shooting the shit at the beach. And that's really all it is, dude.
Getting drunk and Ben is falling down a lot. And then the next one is Fragments. And it's like a poem that one of the guys is saying. And we like to joke and have a good time, but sometimes we deal with personal stuff. This piece is called Fragments. I am fragments, like tattered rags on empty, like broken glass on my feet, like shattered lies. If I fall, I will break. We are fragments.
Fragments.
And there's a guy painting with his feet.
Yeah, there's people painting with their bodies. There's just a random Native American woman that's there saying fragments. There's just a lot of weirdness, and it's just like that really just fucking douchey performance art that you see like mocked in like old shows where it's like a guy in like a leotard doing the worm on stage, like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a butterfly turning into this or whatever. It's very bizarre.
And then they label it performance art. No, it's a hop of shit.
It's art. It's art,
Yeah.
Steve.
Speaking of art, we cut to Billy's play, the four food groups. And the teacher, Carrie Kinney, she's like, they did the costumes and they were great. Billy wrote the script and it fell apart in the third act. And then a guy stands up. He's like, I agree. I wouldn't wipe my ass with Billy's four food groups. What, Dad?
And even Variety had something to say about Billy's ass script. So Billy gets raked over the coals, Steve. The play, so, but the script was just a heap and pile of shit. Shame on you, Billy.
But Coffee Family Skit is greenlit.
Coffee. This is actually just what my 20s were like, Steve. For real.
Same.
This is me in film school, just pouring coffee down my gullet. This is a little more insane. I mean, they're pouring coffee, they're eating coffee, they're rubbing coffee on their bodies. They have coffee and extra coffee and like a coffee bandolier almost, like a Rambo style thing going on. And I would have loved that. But I sympathize, Steve. This was me.
And then Doc Brown comes out the wall with his new espresso tin coffee. And the dad, he drinks it and then he just like blows up.
But he takes it first. He's like, he's amped up from all the coffee, but he sips this because it's like 10 cups of coffee and an espresso. And he's like, calms down. He's like, you know what? That was damn good. I'm going to go. And he leaves. And as soon as he leaves, he explodes, dude. It's that good.
And they end this episode with some Cannonball Run parody, like bloopers. It's like.
I'll take those
Jolo
rosary beads and
Trulio.
Stick up your nose.
Jolo Trulio does a great Burt Reynolds. I mean, it's a norm Burt Reynolds, but it's good. I like it.
Yeah, the fast chewing of the gum with the mustache. That's really what it takes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your boy Dom, man. But shout out to the state. Like I wish it would've
Underappreciated.
Yeah,
I
super.
didn't. I definitely didn't appreciate it. I shame on me for not catching on to this because it really is hilarious.
That following year, 1995, various artists released the soundtrack for Mortal Kombat.
Dude, honestly, it's a cheesy song. It's like all sound bites,
Yeah.
but I love this. Test your might. It's EDM. It's sound effects from the movie and the video game, but god damn it, I love this.
And the only track I really cared about was the Mortal Kombat.
I mean, it's jock jam, Steve. That's all it was. It just got you amped up. There was no. It wasn't like they had like Coolio on it. It was just EDM with like some sound clips from the movie too, which I loved because there's some Johnny Cage in there that I liked. You broke my glasses.
It's got some KMFDM.
Yeah, dude. I need to go back and listen to it because I feel like there were 3 songs that I would just like put the CD in, get the hits out. And it wasn't just one song. It wasn't just the Mortal Kombat song.
Yeah, I have to go through the whole thing. I know Fear Factory's on there. Tracy Lords from Steubenville, Ohio, who was also in Crybaby, the actor / she has a song on there. I remember the Mortal Kombat song being played at the Perrysburg Junior High pep rallies, which
Mortal Kombat, dude, it got you amped up, Steve.
it did, man. It got you in the zone. This also got me in the zone when the show soundtrack was released. I remember the movie when it came out in the summer of '95, and it was like an all-star cast of every rapper that was relevant at the time. It was like a behind the scenes like look at what these guys go through going on tour, doing these shows, and rinse, recycle, repeat, that whole deal, man. It had Notorious Big in there. It had Wu-Tang Clan, Redman. It had Kid Capri, Onyx, Tupac, Slick Rick. And it was produced by Russell Simmons. So I felt like as a teenager or preteen at this time, anything that had Russell Simmons or Def Jam, I looked at it like Vince McMahon's WWF stamp. Oh, I have to at least give it a look because I feel like Def Jam is like that in hip hop. They're like the ultimate. Like if you're a rapper, you want to sign to Def Jam, you want to sign with Russell's company. Like that's the ultimate dream for me. That's how I looked at it. And so the show soundtrack, it's got ironically a lot of like West Coast flavor on the soundtrack. I think you would really enjoy it, man. It's got a lot of that G funk. There is the How High song though with Redman and Method Man. Excuse me as I kiss the sky, and they
Dude,
do
there
their
there is 27 songs on this.
yeah.
That's crazy. Warren G's on this. LL Cool J's on this. A Tribe Called Quest is on this. Notorious B.I.G. is on this multiple times. Snoop Dogg is on this. Slick Rick is on this. I don't know who Kid Creole is, but he's on this. J.O. Felony's on this. Spice One's on. I mean, there is. I didn't know that there is this a double disc.
It was pretty long, man. Yeah, it has to be because it's an hour and 15 minutes, and I think you'd really like it. Trey D has a song on there called "Dropping Bombs." That shit is dope as fuck.
Bone
Unfortunately,
Thugs is on it too, Steve.
oh yeah, it's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang. Yes, that's one of my favorite tracks by them, man. Um,
Damn.
Unfortunately, it's not on Spotify, man. Like I only had to listen to it on YouTube. I got to listen to it on YouTube, and I go to YouTube for music like I go to McDonald's for pizza. Like, unfortunately, soundtracks for whatever reason they don't get cleared by Spotify.
Hmm. Well, I'm anti what you just said because I only listen to music on YouTube, Steve.
Oh,
It cultivates mixes based off. I mean, it's like everything else, but to each his own. But this, I'm
yeah.
definitely going to check this out. I didn't even know it existed, and I feel like this. There's at least 13 songs on this that I want to see, and that's not even half the album. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man, I think you really like it, bro. Like the production, the artists, like you've seen the artists that are on there, man. Now, most of them are skit. Well, not most of them, but there are a lot of skits on there.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the track list, it'll be like 24 seconds where it's just like sound bites. Somebody else who probably didn't know about this in 1995 is probably American rapper Chief Keef, born in Chicago, Illinois. Sosa himself.
Gold all amount. Is that guy? No, is that time him?
No, he's the guy. That's the shit I don't like.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Oh, considered the godfather of drill music, which is one of the more modern genres of hip hop. It's taken over the Chicago scene, it's taken over the New York scene, and it's spread across the globe at this point because they even have a London trap scene.
How would you describe drill music?
It's somewhat similar to trap where it's heavy 808, but it's the rap style, I think, that differentiates it, man, where it's loud, it's very loud and very suggestive, and it's about a lot of murdering, it's a lot of street life stuff. Murder, kill, I don't
Bang
even think they
bang. Doesn't even say that in the song.
sure.
Oh yeah,
I'm
hell
I'm
yeah.
I'm sure they do at some point because there's a lot of bang bang. It's a lot about catching bodies and who your ops are, and about what I'm going to do when I find my ops, and all that child's play. But Chief Keef, for what it's worth, he is one of the first people to bring this to the national spotlight, and he's done collaborations with big names like Kanye. Even like Kanye remade that song. That's that shit I don't like.
That's how I think I actually got acclimated to that song, his version of it.
His version, exactly, man. But 1997 though, Copland premieres in theaters. The sheriff of a suburban New Jersey community populated by New York City police officers slowly discovers the town is a front for mob connections and corruption. Directed by James Mangold, starring Sylvester Stallone, Harvey Keitel, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, Peter Berg, Janine Garofalo, Robert Patrick, Michael Rappaport, and Alan Bella Ciora.
Great movie, and you get a fat Stallone, Steve. Just
Thank you.
something you don't really get to see that much. But it's not like an action extravaganza, but it's Stallone going up against. I think they're crooked cops that are connected to the mob that live in his town. Isn't that what it is?
Harvey Keitel and his boys.
Yeah.
He's T1000 is in his crew, and he's got that mustache, that cop mustache, and he plays the part to a T. No pun intended. But man, I'm glad you said that the movie was good because it was getting mixed reviews upon release, man, and I don't think it got the love it deserved because it's got this cat. Like you got Stallone, Keitel, Liotta, and De Niro. Come on.
What more do you want from me?
I mean, you're only missing Pacino to have basically the complete package. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
or a Pesci, just throw him in there. But I think it was that. I guess I don't know why people don't like it because I've heard that since it came out. I mean, even when it
Yep.
came out, I was too young to like ingest it like as an adult. But as an adult, I have watched it, and it's one of Stallone's best performances as an
Yeah.
actor, and it's got hitters throughout. Everybody you just read could fucking be the headliner of their own movie, but you know, this was a place and time. It was really good though.
And I got to give Michael Rappaport his flowers too, man. Like a lot of people, if you only like know him from his podcasting or just being a loudmouth Jewish New York guy, like he's a good actor. Like he was in Higher Learning, he was in Poetic Justice, even though he was like a brief role in Poetic Justice. He was in Zebrahead. He had a role
True
in movie
Romance.
True Romance. Yeah, dude, Michael Rappaport is good, dude.
He was in a lot of Spike Lee stuff. I mean, he plays one of the most shittiest people in the world in Bamboozled.
Bamboozle, yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think he's just a loud personality. He's a New Yorker, and he loves being a New Yorker. So I don't hate him. I think he's funny as fuck, and I do like, especially like his character in True Romance and stuff when he was just sort of like that innocent. He was always like the innocent kid and stuff, you know, at the early age, and then like Higher Learning that was a turn.
Yeah. So like you just described his scale. Like he can go from that to that.
Yeah.
Like flowers, man. I fucks with Michael Rappaport, man.
And he
I
made a hell of a good movie about, I think, a tribe called Quest. He made like a
did.
documentary about them a long time. Well, I don't know if it was a long time ago, but yeah,
It-
dude.
And it was around the time Fife died when he released that documentary, man. Really good, just a talented dude, man. I listen to his podcast when I can. And Sylvester Stallone, he caught flack for his performance in this, which I do not understand. I have to like research as to why, because this was a change of pace for him. You know, he's playing a vulnerable cop. He's kind of being punked by Harvey Keitel and his crew for most of this. And even Ray Liotta, he kind of like he was a part of that crew, but some stuff happened. He was like, man, I can't get with this. And you know, R.I.P. to Ray Liotta, another legend, man.
It's
Um,
crazy.
you know, Stallone, he said he ate at a local pancake house to gain all that weight.
It's hilarious, dude. But I mean, this was it. That was like one of the selling points of this movie is like Stallone's going method. He put on the pounds for this to play this like pudgy cop. And I don't know. I think it's just like something people didn't, they wanted something else, like maybe some action extravaganza where Stallone comes out guns Blake Cobra style as this fat cop and like takes down these toughs. But yeah, dude, it's not my favorite Stallone movie by any means, but is it a bad movie? Absolutely not. You should definitely check it out, especially if you like mob shit,
Yeah, man.
you know?
Like, or if you're a fan of any of those legends I named, That same day in 97, Event Horizon premieres. A rescue crew is tasked with investigating the mysterious reappearance of a spaceship that had been lost for 7 years. Directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, starring Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, and Kathleen Quinlan.
Yeah, Steve, you said you didn't really clock this too much, but I got to say, for space horror, we got Aliens, we got some movies. There was a movie called Sphere. It's kind of like this a little bit, but it's got great practical special effects, great horror effects. It deals somewhat with like hell. Basically, they open up like a portal to hell, I think, and the ship comes back through the portal and like becomes sentient. So they get on there and start hallucinating all this crazy shit. People end up dying. And like Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne, you got these great actors, and it takes this turn where they get like uh possessed, I guess, by this entity, and they start doing all this evil stuff. Like at the end of this, at one point, I know Sam Neill is on fire, naked, blood, like completely cut to shit, looking like a hell demon. Um, it's crazy. It's very violent. It's very bloody. It's horrific to watch. And I just remember me and my little neighborhood crew of buddies, whenever this came out on VHS, random rental. We wanted to watch some horror movie. We got it. And I just remember after it was over, everybody's like affected by it a little bit. Like, dude,
Really?
this is crazy. It's just really, I don't know. Like, I guess like because we've all seen Aliens and stuff, so you think you know what to expect, but this it just doesn't. You're constantly like wondering what's real and what's not. It's really well done. It's a good movie.
It's not your typical space type movie.
Yeah, because there's elements of like hell in it and stuff because of this. And I don't remember the exact specifics, but it's something like that where the ship disappeared that comes back, and they basically what happened was they went through this portal that was like some other hellish dimension, and it infects this ship that they go on and basically turns everybody against each other and stuff. Um, and you got Sam Neill, the guy from Jurassic Park, and you got Larry Fishburne in it. And I mean, those are two heavy hitters that, believe me, they do a really good job in this. So yeah, I mean, if you like crazy horror movies, definitely check this out. Otherwise, you might be traumatized. It's pretty fucked up.
I'm familiar with Trauma. That following year, 1998, Apple introduces the iMac computer, and the world would never be the same again.
Was this the one with the colored plastic on it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it looked like an egg.
Yeah, this was back when Apple was just like struggle city where, I think it was only I don't even know who really had them very much. The only reason I ever knew about a Mac was one of my buddies had one, and it was the first time that a computer you could type something in and it would say what you typed. Like it had
Yeah.
a program to do that, but I was a Windows baby. I didn't fuck with these Apples, but they were pretty sexy.
Yeah, I didn't get acclimated to Apple or iMacs until Bowling Green. Like, if you went to any of those computer labs, like that's all they had was iMac.
Which is weird, because they're not compatible. If I had to save something on a fly or on some kind of disk, God forbid, what am I gonna do? That's
Now,
really bizarre how much technology has jumped if you think about it. Even when we were
yeah,
in college, we were still like a couple years separated from looking in physical encyclopedias and shit.
like we were still doing that, man. And like there was a time in Bowling Green where if you had a phone, you were doing well. Now everyone has to have a phone.
Where's my phone? Where's my fucking phone
But
at?
but the iMac is a pioneer of sorts, man. It was an early adopter of the USB port, and it kind of like wiped out floppy disk and optical disk drives. So now we're at a point where like no home computers have those or require those.
I don't even know how you fucking use them. Like you'd have to buy something to put onto a computer to even read those things. I found some in the boxes that my parents gave me in my stuff, and I'm like, what is on this?
You'll never be able to find out.
I mean,
Like,
there's no way it can't even be porn. Like, there's nothing exciting it could have been. I don't know what would be on those things.
it's
Maybe a
like,
school project, but or maybe like one titty picture.
yeah, some papers you wrote like in junior high or like junior year high school.
My name is Matt, and one day I'm going to be this. My mom and dad are really nice, and they're cool.
Stone Cold is really cool.
Razor Ramon is one of the coolest people in all of time. His hair is really nice.
Man,
Razor's Edge.
and that same day in '97, Steel premieres. A scientist for the military turns himself into a cartoon-like superhero when a version of one of his own weapons is being used against enemies. Directed by Kenneth Johnson, starring the Big Aristotle, Shaquille O'Neal, Annabeth Gish, Richard Roundtree, Judd Nelson, and Ray J.
Wait, what? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Did you know Steel was actually a like Superman character, Steve?
it was a comic book. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know that until I did the research. And Quincy Jones was a fan of it. That's why he did the score for it. So there's that too.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not what you want, Steve. It didn't do Shaq any favors, but this was, this was that Kazam time where they just wanted, you needed Shaq, Steve. Give me Shaq. What can I do here?
Y'all
And
got any more of that Shaq?
to his credit, I mean, you know, it's Shaq, man. Like, what do
Shaq.
you ain't gonna get an Oscar worthy performance, but they gave him a suit. They did it their best, Steve. They did their best. He had some kind of weird ray gun, like hammer thing, I remember. And I was the biggest Shaq fan of them all, Steve. I
Yeah.
wanted this to succeed. And it didn't, unfortunately.
We both love some Shaq, man, but like I think this is solely driven off of star power. It's like, oh, Shaq's got a new movie. Like, all right, let's check it out. Half a
It's
shit or not,
Shaq.
it's
Yeah.
Shaq.
I mean, that's what it was. They might as well have just called it Shaq. And like that's really what it was marketed as. If I'm giving you, if we have to watch a Shaq movie, give me Kazam all day, Steve.
Kazam over Steel.
Kazam over Steel. Kazam, there's some redeeming factors. He even throws a couple punches in it too. He gets kind of crazy with some Shaq Fu. So, I'm sure there's some of that too. But this, I just remember it's like painful at times. It's one of those.
Does The Wash count as a Shaquille O'Neal movie? Because he was in a scene.
Yeah, it does. So I guess we got to throw The Wash at the top, Steve.
I take The Wash over both of those, man.
Yeah. Trout mouth ass motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, it's me. I'm Red. Got Slim. Hey, Lo, don't tell them I'm over here, man. They don't know me like that. Who
I think
calling?
the only person that doesn't like that movie is Dr. Dre because they played his ass in that. They made him touch himself, listening to Snoop, jam it. Also, what was that guy's name? What was the fat cop's name? Bruce.
Bruce.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude. Yeah, I'm
Tuck
sorry.
your stomach in.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
Give me my chips with dip.
Yeah. Something cool about The Steel, though, man. This is the second comic book movie featuring African American lead, just 2 weeks after Spawn. So thank you for that, 1997. You did give us that.
Are we not counting Meteor Man? Because come on.
Was it based off a comic book, though? I don't know.
I think so, but maybe they created that as a purely standalone thing. But I thought that I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But shout out Spawn too, Michael Jai White. We love that. Spawn versus Steel, Steve.
Come on now, man.
Where's that movie? Where's that movie at?
Yeah. Who are the ad wizards who came up with this one? But anyways, any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways?
I want to say one more time, shame on myself for not paying attention to the state. I do feel bad because I do think that was something I should have paid attention to. But I do want to show you something I found at the local thrift store that I bought. I'm a 90s junkie, and I figured why not add to it? I could put this up someplace. One of Master P's first not starring roles, but acting roles. I found this for a cool dollar, Steve. A nice Nicolas Cage Gone in 60 Seconds framed poster.
That's perfect.
Um, I forgot Giovanni Ribisi was in this movie, but I don't know if it's good. But it's 90s, Steven. We love Nick Cage. We love
Oh
Cage
yeah,
Dog. So,
sure.
I plead with anyone out there, if you go out and you see something that's just going to get tossed, that's 90s related, just pick it up. Send it to us. P.O. Box happened in the 90s. Dead end lane. No, but as me personally, whenever I go to a place, I don't like thrift stores. But when I go in, that's all I do. I just go and like, well, let's see, what dumb shit can I buy for like $5? You
What do
know
you got against thrift stores?
where?
What do you have against them?
Well, as a former fat guy, and even just as a guy that's kind of like of a weird size, never can find clothing there, so it's kind of a wash.
Okay.
And it's always just like a shit show. We go to these places and like the staff, you can't find somebody to get like check you out. There's a line. If there's, it's always just some harassment or something. So I go in, I look at the kitchen stuff, I look at the movies just to see if there's maybe something I want to get for my own collection, just because I am trying to restock the DVD collection, Steve. I'm
Nice.
trying to get the physical media back in my collection. So I'll go in and look at that. But by and large, there's thrift stores. It's a wash for me, Steve. I'm not going to find any cool clothes. It's not going to, even if I do, I'm going to look like a schlub. So I'm just going in there to find maybe a cool, appliance I could use, or just like a DVD that's like 50 cents.
There's some rare gems you come across in there, man. And all I know is R.I.P. to Kevin Sullivan. Like I know we've kind of denigrated his name, man, and throughout this show. Like we're not fans by any means, but I do appreciate wrestlers, professional wrestlers, just because they put their lives on the line, they put their bodies out there, man, for our amusement, for our entertainment. And he was born in 1949, so come around 1990. When he was wrestling Hogan and all these other guys, Chris Benoit and stuff, like he was already like AARP beyond that at that point, man.
That's crazy as hell.
Yeah.
I don't think
So
wrestlers can give it up, man. Like you see Flair and stuff, he'll even still try to go out there. Maybe he's retired now, but it's just like there's something about it, dude. You just can't replicate that. They can't do enough drugs to feel like that.
it's like an addiction, man, and especially with Flair. For one, I think he's an attention whore at all. He's got was it main character syndrome? But like with all those wrestlers, man, like it's like rappers. Like you think you're done, but it's like I, I think I still got it. I can go out there, about to hit the stage.
And in the 80s, we were just killing it, man. You know what I find fascinating about wrestling and like knowing more about what happened behind the scenes? Whenever they question a wrestler and ask them, who is the toughest son of a bitch that you ever met in wrestling? It's like 100% of these people say Haku. And I would never have thought that. But
Yeah,
what this guy was doing sounds terrifying. This guy was like the ultimate badass. Uh,
yeah,
but it was like, that guy? But it was. So it's really cool that they're like pulling that curtain back a little bit. I know maybe some people don't like that as much. It's like revealing magicians tricks, but I don't know. I think it's hilarious to hear all these like crazy stories that the wrestlers that we watched
yeah.
tell, because there was not a dull moment behind the scenes of all this shit.
Yeah, man. Like I'm addicted to those too, man. Like the shoot interviews. I like even the old ones. Like I've been watching Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. They did some shoot interviews together and separately, man. And just like they lived like rock stars, bro. They were always on the road. You have this reliance on some kind of substance, whether it's pills, whether it's coke. Some people want to smoke before they have a match, and for various reasons, for anxiety, for pain. But they make it through. They do whatever it takes, man, to entertain us. So yeah, shout out to any wrestler, man. Like even the guys that we talk shit about. If you ever suited up to be a professional wrestler, man. Like you get somewhat of my props. If you sucked, like I still got to talk some shit, but
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, But I mean, Kevin Sullivan, that guy's a genius. It's just the reality of what it looked like when he was wrestling, because the guy was just like a very bizarre looking dude, But whatever, man. That guy was a fucking cool dude. I mean, rest in peace. We're not going to get to hang out, but I would love to talk to Kevin Sullivan.
yeah, man. RIP to the legend, man. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister, look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the funk Dr. Spock smoking Buddha on a train. How high? So high that I can kiss the sky. How sick? So sick that she can suck my. Please check out Food Show Fanatics as well as Crushgasm every Wednesday with Kendra G and our guy Clark the Shark on Podcastle. This is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the flat kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s.